I'm Marianne Villarreal, Vice President for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Before we begin today, I want to acknowledge that this land, which is named for the Ute tribe, is the traditional and ancestral homeland of the Shoshone, Paiute, Goshute, and Ute tribes. The University of Utah recognizes and respects the enduring relationship that exists between many Indigenous peoples and their traditional homelands. We respect the sovereign relationship between tribes, states, and the federal government, and we affirm the University of Utah's commitment to a partnership with Native nations and urban Indian communities through research, education, and community outreach. Now, welcome. On behalf of the entire University of Utah community, I'm excited to welcome you to the 37th annual MLK Week, paying tribute to the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This week, we celebrate the educational access and opportunity of Dr. King's legacy. MLK Week brings together students, faculty, staff, and community members in critical conversations around contemporary civil rights issues and social and racial justice in America. This week's MLK Week theme is Good Trouble, which honors United States Representative John Lewis. As an associate of Dr. King and leader of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, otherwise known as SNCC, Lewis was the youngest person to speak at the March on Washington, August 28, 1963. We celebrate his spirit and fight. Quote, I want to see young people in America feel the spirit of the 1960s and find a way to get in the way, to find a way to get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble. Let us honor his vision. MLK Week is planned by a volunteer committee of students, faculty, staff, and community leaders. They welcome all to get involved and participate. Sadly, out of an abundance of caution for the health and safety of all, we moved the rally to this virtual MLK Week kickoff event. We wanted to preserve the start of this national holiday, and so here we are. We're delighted to kick off this week with support from many state and local government officials, many of whom you will hear from in just a few minutes. I also want to extend my deepest appreciation to the MLK Committee and specifically the Rally Subcommittee for their dedication to reimagining this event. And finally, we appreciate our partners from the Equitable School of Business, UHealth, and University of Marketing Communications who have helped to make this event possible. Today's celebration is just one of many events in honor of MLK Week at the university. For more details on all of our events, to find out how you can participate in our current virtual contest or where you can pick up free MLK swag, please visit us at www.diversity.utah.edu/MLK. Thank you. We look forward to seeing you this week and at events throughout the year.
One of the great privileges of my time at the University of Utah was to meet John Lewis in person when he was here on our campus. What a remarkable person, a person who persistently acted for his values, a person who consistently stood for the change he knew had to happen in the world, at his own expense in many occasions. He is a model of speaking truth to power and of steadily standing for change, a remarkable person. And I think that's exactly what he meant when he said good trouble.
Hello, I'm Utah State Representative Sandra Hollins, and I represent District 23. A few years ago, I had the honor and the pleasure of meeting Mr. John Lewis. And in that conversation that I had with him, explaining to him some of the things I was working on, he said to me, sound like you're getting into some good trouble. For me, good trouble means strategically working to dismantle systems, whether that's nationally or locally, that have been set in place that disenfranchises marginalized communities. For each of us, we need to become involved. We need to become civically engaged. Only you can choose how to do that, whether that's through being an informed voter. For some of you, that may mean organizing. For some of you, that may mean peaceful protests. And for some people, that may mean getting involved in policy changes. However you choose to get involved, I encourage you to get involved. Standing on the sideline is no longer an option for us. So today, in order to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, I am committed to getting into some good trouble.
Hi, friends. I'm honored to join you today as we remember the legacy of two distinguished civil rights icons, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Representative John Lewis. Both were dynamic social activists, known for their eloquence, passion, and power. Both understood the value of nonviolent resistance, and they both defined what good trouble looks like. Good trouble means speaking out and standing up against injustice. Good trouble means making clear demands, backed up with persuasive arguments. And good trouble means working within the law for change. As parents, we often teach our children to use their words to resolve conflicts on the playground. But sometimes words aren't enough. And that's why direct action, sit-ins, and peaceful protests are all constitutionally protected rights. The founders of this nation knew that the right to assemble to express grievances was a healthy part of our democratic republic. Dr. King proved that during the March on Washington, as did Representative Lewis in numerous demonstrations and debates throughout his life. Unfortunately, that's not what we saw recently in our nation's capital. Not since the Civil War has such lawlessness and rioting desecrated that building. I am angered by the violence we saw on January 6th and by the hate-filled rhetoric that has fomented chaos and fear over the past few years. As Americans, we need a return to civic charity. We need to recognize our opponents as people instead of demonizing them. We need to understand our opponents' arguments and relearn the art of compromise as we self-govern. Sometimes we have to hit rock bottom before we start to emerge from the abyss, and I believe as a nation we are ready to climb. Here's hoping we return to good trouble soon. Thank you for your efforts to improve our government and our society. May God bless you.
Today is a day we pay tribute to the extraordinary life and legacy of one of our greatest Americans, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We celebrate his courage and strength during his long battle for equality. But to truly honor Dr. King's fight for civil rights, we must continue to do our part to address issues related to inequality that plague far too many aspects of our society. 2020 brought numerous challenges, and the reckoning for racial justice was at the forefront. In July of last year, we lost another pioneer of the civil rights movement, Congressman John Lewis. I actually met John Lewis when I worked in Washington, and he marched with Dr. King years before and carried forward his work, engaging in the good trouble needed to take part in dismantling systemic racism and bias. Today, we are all called to continue the legacies of the civil rights icons of the past. In Salt Lake County, my administration is committed to acting and serving as a community convener for change in Salt Lake County. The Mayor's Council on Diversity Affairs is comprised of diverse community members. They work side by side with the county employees to shape equitable policies around housing, criminal justice, healthcare, and other essential services. As Dr. King once said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We must ensure the scales of justice work equally for all of us, but we also know the arc of the moral universe bends towards justice. Let's pause to honor the accomplishments of our great civil rights leaders and pledge to carry on their legacy. This holiday should be thought of as a day on, not a day off. More than ever, I want to call my fellow county residents to take action. Donate to the food bank, volunteer, educate, and speak out against injustice. No action is too small. Together we can make a difference. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?
Good trouble is standing up against any institution that threatens or violates human rights. It doesn't matter how large the institution may be or how small we may perceive ourselves. It doesn't matter. Because it takes all of us working together, understanding that with bravery, we have the power to yield change. To fight for those in the margins. When we aren't afraid of the consequences of standing up for others, that's when the largest changes happen. It doesn't matter what happens to our reputation, what our friends may say, or what our family may think. Because when we're fighting for people who need us, the losses that may come with that are important. Because every day in this country, there are people who are told that they are illegal, inferior, and that their lives don't matter. Good Trouble understands that unless everyone is liberated, no one is. And now more than ever, we need Good Trouble. Now more than ever, we need to understand that our actions, words, and behaviors as individuals and as a collective matter. Because what we decide today, what we decide that it's important, doesn't just impact us for generations to come, but has real life, real time impacts on our neighbors today. Our neighbors that are both sheltered and unsheltered. There are people who need us the most. So we need to make a decision today if we're ready to cause some trouble. I know I am. Who's with me?
To me, good trouble means not backing down or giving up on an issue that, when addressing it head on, will significantly improve the lives of many. You speak up, you keep on it, and you don't give in to hopelessness. Congressman John Lewis's call for nonviolent protest, get in good trouble, necessary trouble, couldn't be more timely or fitting after what 2020 brought to the surface of our lives as individuals, as a city, and certainly as a nation. Incidents like the killings of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and the hundreds of thousands of COVID-19 deaths in our nation, plus the detrimental effects of the pandemic on our marginalized communities, has shown us that systemic injustices, voting oppression, discrimination, poverty, food insecurity, these are not conditions of the past. Until we evolve toward greater equity, safety, and justice, we have to continue to apply and act on the principles and the lessons that our civil rights leaders like Congressman Lewis and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave us. In his famous letter from Birmingham jail, Dr. King wrote, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." I believe that to be a true and timeless statement. We are a community. We must look out for one another if we want to thrive as a whole. Today, as we celebrate and reflect on Dr. King's remarkable life and work, let's be re-energized and be reminded that change can come through unity, service, and activism. I'm grateful for the activists of today who embody his teachings, and I stand with them in the fight for equality every day. Both Congressman Lewis and Dr. King dedicated their lives to a movement and a cause that changed the lives of African Americans and other minorities in this country. Their good trouble brought people together from all walks of life to unite and do the right thing. Let's honor Dr. King, Congressman Lewis, and the many, many other civil rights leaders by continuing to do our part to unite and to move toward building stronger, more just, and more welcoming communities. We know it can be done. The importance and symbolism of this holiday have remained a constant to me and my family. And that's because there is so much unfinished work. We all have the capability and opportunity to serve in some way. Volunteering, helping a neighbor, saying hello to someone outside your own circle, speaking up when we see injustice, voting, The time is now. We are able and we must be the change.